earthquakes closer to September than December, but between the boundaries of September to December.
Let's go to our first-time caller line. You're on the air with us. Hello there.
Hi.
Go ahead, sir, and where might you be?
I'm in Santa Clarita, California.
Okay, go ahead.
My question concerns global consciousness in general. I'm not sure if you're familiar with remote viewing.
Yes, I've run across that.
It's like, I guess the government has admitted that they studied it. The CIA has used it. Edgar Casey supposedly was a user of remote viewing. Now, my question is, this WebBot program, is it possible that it taps into that consciousness as well?
It certainly could, whether it's deliberate or an unconscious leaking of it, so to speak. You know, your Aunt Frida is a remote viewer and just accidentally let something slip into the conversation, and you pin it in a fora to your buddy about gardening, and oh, by the way, the earthworms are going to do this because of earthquake coming. And she saw that in remote viewing, and we would certainly pick that up, but we wouldn't discriminate it. We wouldn't know we were picking it up.
Okay, great. Next up, let's go to our wild card line. You're on the air with us. Hi there.
Hello?
Yes, take it away.
Yeah, I wanted to know about, what do you guys think about as far as, you know, what's going to happen in 2021 as far as what's going to happen as far as December 21st this year?
Okay, and he means 2012. Quick recap just for him.
Actually, we think that the problems will be greater between now and 2012, and there will be serious problems affecting a large scale of the population that may include a lot of people dying.
And Clif has not gotten into too much depth on it here, but there's this nasty item of global coastal event, which is showing up in a major way.
And it has been for a long time, so it's going to be a biggie.
A real biggie. Big enough that Clif is building a boat.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm only at 200 feet elevation here.
Like an ark?
No, like a survival pod, if you will, because we face some very realistic probabilities, not possibilities, but probabilities that we must prepare for. Bear in mind that we pick up things that we're not necessarily supposed to see because people are not as conscious of security as they should be. So occasionally, because of the way we do our programs, we actually get real conversation snippets. And we can tell sometimes the sort of the general sense of who's corresponding with whom. Not email. We don't do that deliberately, but in fora, people are less cautious than they should be. And we know, for instance, we have evidence, let me put it that way. We have evidence that suggests that the military is planning for a 5-year timeline on the loss of the Greenland glacier and anywhere up to a 60-foot rise in sea level in the next 5 years.
Which is devastating.
Right,
oh, yeah.
And we're thinking even 30 feet in my local area in Puget Sound means most of my bridges are gone, and any getting from point A to point B is going to involve the water.
And the problem, George, gets worse because Clif and I run out these scenarios all the time when we're talking about the data. You know, we're going through things like, okay, how many oil refineries in the world are left if you had a 40-foot rise of seawater?
Or nuke plants.
I'm sorry?
Nuclear plants.
Oh, nuclear plant. Yeah, I mean the whole thing. And so when we talk about people are going to be lucky to be around for 2012, consider what would happen if part of the glacier structure in Greenland and part of what's in the Antarctic were to break off land, slide into the ocean. We could have that kind of a problem crop up any day.
Okay, wild card line, it's your turn. Hi.
Yes, hi. This is Angela from Covington, Louisiana.
Hello, Angela.
Hi, George. And I wanted to mention to your guests, they were saying that they believe that we're going to be in for some pandemics. I'm sorry, I can't get the word out.
Yeah, a pandemic. Correct.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, senior, you know. But, you know, I mentioned to the lady that answered the phone is we received in Louisiana, for the first time ever I have ever received, a booklet. Usually we are cautioned on what to do for hurricanes, right? But this booklet came, and it was all about what to do for epidemics.
Have you looked at what the government has already got up at pandemicflu.gov?
Yes, and it's like a 5-6 page, and it covers the bird flu, it covers all, and that I found very curious. And now tonight you are talking about that as in the future, and I'm wondering if there's not, the coincidence is just, I don't
personally accept the idea of meaningless coincidence.
Yes. And why did we receive this booklet out of the blue all of a sudden? Never received one before.
You can think of it one way here in a less than threatening way. It's not necessarily evil intent. It's not necessarily the government going out and deciding that there's going to be a pandemic or something. Think of it as more of an innocuous way that's in line with our work, that there's emotional waves that go through the population, like the pet rock or some of these other strange things that why do they take hold? Well, here's a situation where the idea of a pandemic has reached to the core and it resonates within lots of individuals. And so every time that an individual who it resonates with comes across the idea, they reinforce that energy and try to do something about it, etc. And it builds on its own. And thus you get the brochure out of the blue. But in fact, what it is a cresting part of an emotional wave that may have been building for a couple of years. Make sense?
Do you see any kind of nuclear explosion in this country at all?
Not looking for it. That's an issue, too. It gets back to that same terrorism and all of this. Then you start getting into intent and where might it be and so on. Let me say that those things that we've done, anything that we were to come across, if we were to find that in our serendipitous mode, I wouldn't tell you, but I might pass it on to somebody who might find the information more meaningful.
Huh. Next up, let's go west of the Rockies. You're on the air with us. Hi there.
Hello, good evening, George, and to your guests. I'd like to direct the question. Firstly, are they familiar with the work of Ed Dames, the technical remote viewer?
Sure, I've seen his stuff, yeah.
From what you have said regarding the imminent global catastrophe, it seems to me that could very well be within the same realm as Ed Dames's projected
his kill shot
catastrophe.
I don't see anything in conflict with that. In our view, that it's a field effect that's being felt here in the solar system would certainly show up as the sun going a little crazy and spitting things out. So it makes sense.
Do you see anything regarding what he has insisted will be a shuttle complication preceding this event?
We actually see an abandonment of the ISS, yeah.
Really? Of the International Space Station?
Yeah, correct.
Oh, well, you know what? That came very close, too.
See, that's our problem, because we're picking up emotional waves which are really going to reflect in the global media stream. Sometimes if everybody has a fear about something happening and they talk about it, that's what we're picking up rather than the event itself. So we can't tell at this stage if our predictive language has yet been fulfilled.
And I've got to tell you, I am fascinated by both your work and where does it go next? I mean, how does it evolve technologically?
It won't. I'm not bothering with any of that. Time is too short. We're pretty much stopped at this stage because the universe wants us to get it to this stage, and we're productive and effective for people because they keep signing up at our huge cost. And so it's like, okay, it's supporting them, but to be honest, there's very little point.
Interesting. And so you're not giving up, though, are you?
No, I'm continuing because the universe obviously wants the work to continue, and it is interesting, and I like doing interesting things.
All right.
But I don't expect that I'll necessarily be here in 2010 to
Well, let's hope you are, Clifford. We'll be back in a moment on Coast to Coast AM. We'll take your final phone calls. Okay, George and Cliff, I mean, we've talked about some things that are pretty doom and gloom. Is there anything good coming out of this?
There's a story just crossing now about what could be the lead-in to this big decline release period economically. China's stock market dropped 5.25% in today's trading session.
That's huge.
It would be the same as the U.S. market dropping 800-900 points. So you bet that's a biggie.
Now, when the Japanese Nikkei drops, we drop. What about China? What's going to happen in the morning when they open up the markets here?
My guess is it's going to be... I wouldn't be surprised to see maybe 100-point, 150-point down day.
Down. Okay.
That's just a guess.
Yeah, because, quite honestly, if the Chinese markets go down and they need to generate cash, guess where they're coming to take it?
Well, there is that.
That's a problem. But again, is there any good news out of any of this? Do we foresee any good news?
We have a tendency in our model space to, as I say, concentrate on negative values because they've been assigned a higher numeric value to a negative emotion. So as a rule, we don't see good news if that's really the way to look at it. Now, it's not 100% terrible because we often err on the side of the extreme, and it's not as bad as we thought. So just because our interpretation says that the flooding is going to displace 7 million doesn't necessarily mean that'll occur. We see some level of displacement and a lot of emotional angst and so on, but maybe we won't get that 7 million displaced. On the other hand, I have to be rather candid and say that the reality of the biospheric degradation going on around us does not argue for a positive outcome.
Okay, let's go back to the phones. We'll go to our wild card line. You're on the air with us. Hi there. Where are you calling from?
New York City.
Okay, welcome to the program. Big Apple, go ahead.
Hi, George. I think you're swell. Now, where should we live? I'm sitting here with a lot of angst. Where should we live to be safe?
Don't look to us for a place of safety because it is my opinion that there is no such thing.
So you don't see any particular location that would be hit less than, or where should we not be?
I wouldn't, if you wanted to avoid an immediate fiasco, and by immediate I mean within the next 5 years, I wouldn't be living too close to any coast. The implications are that we will for sure lose the glaciers. The evidence is that scientists say, oh yes, glaciers will melt and they will add 120 feet of water, but it'll be 2050 before that occurs. And what they're actually doing is they're taking the total amount of history showing the sea level rise and dividing it by the number of years in which they think it occurred. And they are wrong. And it does not actually work that way. One day a glacier will decide, that's it, I'm going. I've got enough water underneath me, and I'm going to head to the sea. And it'll take 3 days for the Greenland glacier to totally shift into the sea, and we'll have a tidal wave that will go around the world many times as a result of that. And that tidal wave will impact coastal areas, sometimes 200 and 300 miles inland, and it will drown millions of people in the underdeveloped parts of the world, including Bangladesh, many of the third world islands, and so on. So it makes no sense at all to live near the coast if one expects this to occur over the next 4 or 5 years. That's probably the best kind of thing we can do. But there's an old saying that the Swedes have, and in this area up here in Puget Sound, we've got a lot of the old Swedes kicking around, and they've got this saying that Father Time is woven the skein of your life the moment you're born, and you can live in a hole as long as you want, and it won't add a single day. So take comfort in what you've got. And,
makes sense.
You know?
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
You're very, very welcome. Let's go to our first-time caller line. You're on the air. Hi there.
Hello, George.
Hey.
I'm like you. This is a fascinating topic, and what a great show.
Thanks.
My question for George 1 and Clif is whether or not, often I get a desire to go out seeking information, and I don't really know why. That when